You're welcome back to part 2 of Artifacts. This is Brenda Drumm with you for the next little while on KFM. Now, I'm delighted to be joined in studio by a panel. I have my very own panel in studio this evening. Hello, ladies.
Hello.
Hi, Brenda.
All wonderful ladies, lovely writerly type people. I'm going to get you to introduce yourselves, so we'll start here.
Hi, Brenda. Margaret Scott is my name, and I published my first book with Poolbag just over a year ago now, called Between You and Me. And I've 3 chapters to go in my second, which is due out in June, so fingers crossed if that goes okay.
Brenda, hi, this is Jennifer Burke. I'm another Poolbag author. My first book, The Secret Son, was published in September of last year after I won Poolbag's Writer Bestseller competition in June. My next book, Levi's Gift, is out in the autumn, and it's due in with the publishers next week, so I should really be at home writing it, but here I am.
We're delighted to have you.
And my name's Louise Hall. I'm a writer of fiction and non-fiction. My first non-fiction book, Medjugorje, What It Means to Me, is published by the Columba Press. I also do a bit of freelance writing and have been published in the Sunday Independent, Irish Independent, Woman's Way and more. And I'm also a contributor on RT Radio 1 for The Godslot.
Okay.
Doing book reviews.
Yeah, you see, you'd know she was used to doing the radio, wouldn't you? And last but by no means least,
Carmel Harrington here, and I'm published with HarperCollins. My first novel, Beyond Grace's Rainbow, was published late last year, and my second novel, The Life You Left, will be published in June of this year. I also do a bit of freelance work as well.
And Carmel, you've been on with me a couple of times before talking about Beyond Grace's Rainbow.
Yeah.
What was the title of your second novel?
I know, this is an exclusive for you now, Brenda.
Oh, great.
Just for you, Pet.
Exclusive.
Yeah, it was called something completely different in my head for a long time, but it's been renamed The Life You Left. And,
It's a great title.
Do you like it?
Yeah, I do. It's really, it kind of makes me want to kind of open it, because I was saying this before, like, I'm all about the titles. It's the title followed by the cover, followed by the first page of a novel that will either hold me or not.
Oh, I love to hear that. That's great, because it was a bit of an adjustment for me. You know, when you've had another title in your head when you've written a book for so long, and then when the publisher, you know, they like the book and then they say, well, maybe the title isn't right. So this has really grown on me. I love it now. So, thrilled you like it.
Great.
Excellent.
And what about the rest of you ladies? Did you have similar experiences, or did you end up having on your cover the title that you had in your head the whole way through?
No, mine changed. For my first book, mine changed completely. It was called something else, and it took me 3 years to write it as something. But actually the name they picked in the end was much better. I think I'd originally called it Rockabye Baby or something. And I had a reason in my head for it, but it turned out that Between You and Me was much more suitable.
And do you think having a title in your head matters when you're writing it?
I think so, maybe just for me anyhow, just to differentiate between your first and second book even, you know what I mean? So although I like the hashtag, so BGR, hashtag BGR for Beyond Grace's Rainbow. So now I have to try and get my head around hashtag TLTY. Is that right?
The Life
TLT.
Hashtag help. Hashtag help.
Yeah.
Hashtag
But anyhow,
help. Yeah.
But see, Sleep of Dreams, the original title was easy. It was just SOD, and it was just simple. But I think the title is better. So
I write fiction now. The 2 manuscripts I've written are unpublished. They're with a literary agent. But I actually had the title of my books ready. Just as I was writing the first chapter, I knew in my head what the title was going to be. So now whether that would all change, I know it does a lot of the time. You know, the publisher might have other ideas. With my non-fiction book, the publishers were very happy with it. They went with it and all was fine. But yeah,
I think it happens a lot that they change it. So, you know, advice I give to people starting off is don't waste time. If you can't think of a title straight away, just keep going, because they more than likely will change it.
And I suppose the thing is that they know what they're doing.
What the trends are.
Yeah.
See, there are certain trends, and at the moment it seems to be quite popular to even have 4-worded titles. There's a lot of them like that kind of are around that. So there are certainly trends, and they follow those. And as writers, we don't necessarily need to know that. We just need to get on and write. And
I would imagine, though,
20,000 words you can worry about.
Exactly.
I would imagine it might be difficult, though, if you're really sold on a title, especially for non-fiction, I think, Louise, that if you feel it's what best encapsulates the book, it might be hard to let go of it.
Well, you hit the nail on the head there. I thought that title really encapsulated the book, the essence of the book, because it was people's stories, people's testimonies. So it was what this place meant to them personally. So I think I would have been a little bit irked if the publishers, you know, really wanted to change it. But if it sounded better, I would have gone with it. But no, they were happy and I was happy, and it worked out for me, thank God.
Now, Jennifer, you had a very interesting experience, and when did you find out that you had won that competition?
Oh, it was just the best day ever, and also the most mortifying day ever, because I was in work in the office, and TV3 just barged in with their cameras and said, "Ta-da! You've won this competition." And I just had no idea what to do. I just had to try and keep it together. It was the most amazing day, because I've wanted to be a writer since I was a kid, as I'm sure we all have here, and to find out that I'd won in that way and to get that extra publicity was really very special.
Yeah, and did the fact that it happened through the TV3 and the television help with launching you as a debut writer?
Yeah, it was great. It was great. I got a few interviews on TV3 and a few articles and that out of it. So it was, it's so difficult, as the girls know, to get a first book launched into the market. So to have any kind of extra publicity in TV3 were great, as were Poolbeg. So it was brilliant experience.
Yeah, well, and the second book is coming along well.
It is. It's coming along. Yeah. We had big discussions about the title as well. I had one title originally, and then they weren't sure, so I came up with the second one, and then I wasn't sure. There's discussions all over the place, but we're happy with it now, and it'll be out in the autumn. So
Great title.
Yeah. Thanks.
Yeah, now I want to have a chat to you, but I'm going to hold it till part 3 about this whole thing of chick lit and genre and women's fiction. It seems to be something that women's fiction in particular, or female writers, suffer from. But before that, we tend to have a lot of emerging writers listening to us, and when we get writers on, I always like to ask them for a little bit of advice. And I mean, emerging writers can be emerging at any age. So it could be teenagers you're talking to, or it could be people in their 40s or 50s who've just picked up a pen or opened a blank document for the first time. What advice would you give them if they have a book, or if they have something down on paper, Margaret?
My advice, actually, I'm going to Newbridge College tomorrow morning as part of Book Week, and the advice I give young writers is just to write it. Don't be worrying about all the bits that come afterwards. The most important thing is that you get to the end, because it's only the first time you'll ever get to the end of that book. I mean, you'll get to the end probably 3-4 more times before it's finished. So there's no point in trying to get your start perfect, or no point in, worrying about a name or setting up a Facebook page for it, or all these ridiculous things. Just get to the end at least once, and then start worrying about the finer things. And then my second bit of advice would be, don't wait until the first book is published before you start your second, because your second book, I found, was so much more difficult than your first. And I could have had it written. 2 years ago, but I didn't, because I was messing around trying to get the first one published.
But it must be difficult to strike a balance between the publicity phase, and
so hard. Yeah. Because really, I had a year to write the second book, but the first few months were taken up with launching the first, and it's just hard because you're trying to do all the bits of publicity that go around with it, and trying to think of ways to get it in front of people. So really, I started writing the second a lot later than I should have, and as a result was under huge pressure in the end. But so I would say, in that 6 months while you're waiting for agents and stuff to look at your first book, be writing your second, because there's a lot of waiting around. Everything takes months. Getting an agent takes a few months. Getting a publisher takes a few months. You could have your second one done, and you're not as nervous back then, because you don't really ever expect anyone to look at either of them. So I think writing your second, you're so self-conscious, because this time that people are going to read it. So I would say write your second one.
And Jennifer,
really
do you have an agent now, or are you direct with publisher?
I'm direct with Poolbeg at the moment.
Yeah.
I have a 3-book deal with them.
Great. Yeah. And Carmel, we know your story on Artifacts.
You're sick of me.
I know, I'm not sick, yeah. But it's a wonderful story, because you self-published first, didn't you?
I did self-publish first, and that actually attracted an agent, and then in turn then got me my book deal with HarperCollins. But what I would say, I completely echo what Margaret, the advice Margaret gave, but I would also say for anybody out there who's actually writing, just get a killer first opening paragraph on your opening chapter. Just make sure that is killer, because now, whether you self-publish or whether you publish with an actual publishing house, a lot of the books are all up on Amazon, and you get to have a free sample read of books out there, and that's what makes people decide whether they want to buy or not. So it can be the first 3 or 4 sentences that will make them decide whether they're going to carry on reading, or they're going to just say, not for me. So keep working on that opening paragraph and make sure it really, really knocks them dead.
Do you not feel, though, that you don't know your opening paragraph until you get to the end of the book?
Oh, 100%.
My first chapter didn't end up being my first chapter at all.
Totally.
I don't know where my first chapter went. It's out there somewhere.
No, I agree totally. Sure, and even the second book, The Life You Left, I mean, my first chapter, right up until the end of the third rewrite, is now the second chapter, and I've rewritten the first chapter because I realised for that reason it wasn't a killer first chapter. So I totally agree with you, but if you're at the point where your book is ready, go back to that first chapter, and all I'm saying is it's a different world there now. People don't go into a bookshop, buy a book and then go home and then give it 2 or 3 chapters to decide whether they like it, and quite often it does take a bit of time to get into a book, whereas now people make decisions a lot quicker. So you need to give a reader no excuse to say, I'm not going to spend,
or to put it back on the shelf.
Put it back on the shelf.
Yeah, it's nearly more important than your back.
One of the things they do say is writing is rewriting. So I remember finishing my first book, like Margaret was saying, and being so delighted with myself and being all ready to send it off to publishers and agents. I thought they'd be lining up. So by the time I had rewritten it, the whole thing had changed.
Yeah.
So never feel that you can't go back and change anything. It's your book.
Okay, we're going to pause the discussion for here. I'm going to hear a piece of music from the Oscars. It was one of the songs that was nominated for Best Song at the Oscars. It's the Moon Song from the movie Her, and it's by Karen O.